The US stock market has just had its biggest quarterly loss since the tech wreck of 2022, with the S&P 500 currently being down 4.37% year to date as of recording, and is down close to 10% from all-time highs. And with that, some investors are now looking outside of the US in order to continue to grow their investment portfolios. So today I thought we could dive into some of the details around this current US stock market correction, investment flows as well as market valuations, a new opportunity potentially that investors are looking at, along with analyst future forecasts too. So if that sounds good, let's dive into some of the data. But before I do so, guys, this content is just for educational and journalistic purposes only, and nothing that I say within this video is an investment recommendation. When you are investing, your capital is at risk and the value of your investments may go up as well as down. So it's been a troubled start to the year for the US stock market as Trump came into power, and since then it's caused a lot of stock market turmoil, with current market prices being down roughly about 10%, which is typically defined as a stock market correction. It's in the aftermath of about a month's worth of selling pressure, which, as you can see from this heat map, we've got all of the big names like Microsoft, Apple, Nvidia, Amazon, Google, Meta, and Tesla all seeing significant declines. Of course, some of the other sectors and individual stocks have seen declines too, but those Magnificent Seven have seen a combined loss now of over $2.5 trillion in valuation. The problem with these 7 stocks is that they make up over a quarter of the total valuation of the S&P 500, and because of that, it provides a huge amount of concentration risk for US investors when these 7 stocks aren't performing all too well. So with the US stock market falling and the Magnificent Seven not being so magnificent right now, where exactly is that money going? Well, let's discuss that next. When investments are sold, fundamentally that value must go somewhere else. Either it's held in cash, or potentially it could be moved into other investments. But what's interesting to note is that Morningstar released a report just last week, which actually shows a huge uptick in European equity ETF fund flows, which has actually taken place over the past month or so, especially as more and more money, as we can see, has moved out of US equity ETFs. And actually US dominance, at least in the sense of where investor fund flows are going, actually took a turnaround at the start of February. And then where in the week commencing the 14th of March, US equity ETFs saw the biggest outflow of funds since the start of 2025. And if we dive a little bit more into the detail about where those fund flows possibly could be heading, well, we're seeing a growing share of fund flows heading into European large cap equities. Now, that's not to say that people are directly selling US equity ETFs and equally putting all of that money into European ETFs. It just shows the correlation and the comparison between what investors are doing right now with their money. And it's not to say people selling in one market are buying in another. Now, whilst US equities have been an extremely popular investment over the long term, admittedly, for many investors out there, actually what we can see is a little bit of a reversal perhaps in that trend, which, as I said, took place in about February time, where monthly fund flows into European large cap largely outweighed the US large cap equities for the first time in over a couple of years. It's resulted in the Euro Stoxx 600, which is a collection of 600 constituents over 17 different countries over in Europe, gaining over 5% year to date, significantly outperforming the US stock market so far in 2025. But what exactly does the future hold for Europe? Well, as we've seen, reports are showing that there seems to be a little bit more investor appetite to European large cap equities. And that could certainly be attributed to all of the market turmoil with Trump and his tariffs and the prospects of economic slowdown and the lackluster corporate profits and all of that kind of stuff. But what else is it about Europe that could make it a little bit more of an attractive investment? If we take a look at this chart from Yardeni Research, it shows the forward price to earnings ratio for Europe, emerging markets, US, Japan, and the UK. And the forward price to earnings ratio essentially is what investors are prepared to pay based on what they expect to be the future earnings that a company is going to generate 12 months from now. So it's a bit of an indicator that looks at future valuations based on future forecasted earnings. Now, currently, the US stock market is still quite expensive, trading at about 21 times forward earnings. If you compare that to Europe, which is the blue line, that currently trades at a slightly more attractive 14.2 times forward earnings. If we dive into the details a little bit more and look at the comparative discount between US equities and European equities, it's about 33% cheaper right now to buy into European markets over the US market. So I can certainly understand why, based on this data and this information, why it appears that some investors are certainly moving their money out of the US stock market and into the European market instead. seems to be a little bit of a rotation perhaps that's taking place within investors' portfolios. But what else is driving prices in European equities, along with what else makes European equities attractive for investors currently? Well, let me shed some light on one key sector that seems to be having quite a big role to play in it. A report which was published by eToro suggested that in about mid-March, this report's a couple of weeks old now, that European defence stocks were up 46% year to date. Those gains may slightly differ now because the report, as I said, is a couple of weeks old, but nonetheless, those gains are pretty significant compared to kind of what else is going on, especially when you compare that to even the Magnificent Seven or just the US stock market more broadly. This FT article showcased companies like Bay Systems, Rheinmetall and Leonardo, which have all seen stock prices explode in the first quarter of the year. And that potentially is as a result of what appears to be a bit of a rapid change in policy response to increased defence and security spending across Europe and even in the UK too. With Trump coming into power and being a little bit of a disruptor, let's say, perhaps it's kind of led some people to thinking, driven by the fact that he just almost immediately stripped funding away from Ukraine, that he's kind of almost like turned his back a little bit on Europe and potentially won't be there as such as a strong ally if things were to escalate moving forwards. And as a result, Europe have kind of thought to themselves quite quickly that they kind of need to be in a position to sufficiently look after themselves. And with Russia continuing to increase their spend on defense and security, with a budget that's also increasing across 25, 2026 and 2027, I think there's certainly this acknowledgement that the Europeans need to kind of think about protecting themselves a little bit more and perhaps not be so reliant on the US as such moving forwards. As a result, an €800 billion rearm program was announced just over a week ago by the European Commission, and even the UK have followed suit with the spring statement, which came out about a week or so ago as at recording, with the UK implementing actually the biggest sustained increase in defence spending since the Cold War, which will rise to the equivalent of 2.5% of GDP from April 2027. So naturally, with all of this additional government funding, it's obviously made, defence stocks perhaps in the defence sector slightly more attractive for investors, because fundamentally with all of this additional fiscal spending, that money has to go somewhere. That somewhere being the companies that can support those defense and security ambitions that Europe has. And that increase in spending contributes to increase in earnings, which could contribute to increasing stock prices or asset prices, or at least in theory anyway. In a nutshell, it's like fiscal expansion, right? The government are spending lots and lots of money, which in turn should go on to increase asset prices. And with that additional stimulus then going on to boost the economy, especially if it's being spent in the right way. The headlines have been that Goldman Sachs have just trimmed Euro Stoxx 600 forecast, citing that they believe that tariffs will have an adverse impact on corporate earnings, predicting growth of just 2% now in 2025 and 4% in 2026. They also reduced their forecast for the Stoxx 600 to 570 points, from that 580 points it had previously stated, which if we consider that the Euro Stoxx 600 is trading at 540 points as at recording, that's a 5.5% growth forecast for the remaining part of this year, instead of the 7.4% which was previously stated. And all of that links back to the US tariff story, and we'll just have to kind of see how that all plays out. But it's not just Europe that Goldman Sachs have actually slashed their future price forecasts for, because they've also done the same for the S&P 500 too, citing they expect the stock market to lose 5% actually over the next 3 months, with their full year outlook pricing the S&P 500 at 5,900 points, down from the 6,100 point forecast which it had previously, which in total would be about a 5% gain in 2025 from this point. So from this, we can summarize a couple of things. Number one, from this point, Goldman believed that European equities will outperform US equities in 2025. And secondly, that Goldman Sachs literally have no idea what's going to happen in the future, because the world is quickly and forever evolving and you never really know what decisions are going to be made tomorrow, next week or next month. And as a result of that, Goldman have already had to change their forecast for the rest of the year, even though we're only 3 months into it. So if anything, let's take these forecasts with a little bit of a pinch of salt, because in reality, nobody truly knows what's going to happen in the stock market tomorrow, next week, or even next year. You can have the most complex financial modeling that there is available on the planet, but nothing is guaranteed when you're investing in the stock market, unless of course you've got some kind of crystal ball to hand. I think if this period of time teaches me anything about investing, it's that diversification can be a good thing, especially during times of market turmoil when we're not really sure and we're pretty much uncertain about the future outlook for different countries, along with different economic sectors too, and which one of those countries and which one of those economic sectors is going to perform well. Diversification is almost that hedge against uncertainty, which probably makes it a worthwhile consideration for any investment portfolio. And if I'm honest, that was also the general consensus whilst I was watching Bloomberg this morning from some of the analysts that have come on and given their thoughts, which is certainly an interesting perspective to always have. But I'm always interested to know what your thoughts are, so be sure to let me know what they are down in the comment section below. And before you go, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and if you enjoyed this video, YouTube thinks that you might also enjoy this one next, so be sure to click on that now. With that being said, I'll see you over in the next one.